What is this?
What is this? What's that?
Tell me, what is this society of friends, the wisdom of which you are so eager to bestow on others?
Hi, people. How are ya?
Welcome to another edition of What Is This? I'm Jesse.
And I'm Paul.
And thanks again for tuning in. It's been a little bit since we made a video, but we're back into the swing of things with episode 9 of What Is This? And we're going to be talking about episode 4 of season 1, right? And we open up with Logain, and where he is in, what is that, Caldera? What's the name of that city?
No, Gildan.
Gildan. Yeah, Gildan.
I think that's the name of the country. It's not the name of the town. I think it's Johanna.
And that guy's the king of that place that
Right.
he gets it, that he's having that scene with, right?
They don't name him. It can't be Aelron because, well, it could be now.
But he is the king, I think. In this
He's the king of
thing.
And he's running from Logain, who has defeated his entire army single-handedly. And he's terrified of him. And we have a great suspenseful scene of the question of whether is Logain just going to kill the king or what's he going to do?
I think the scene is just one of my top scenes throughout the whole series.
I completely agree.
And it just opens up with this great aerial shot. I don't know if they're using drones or whatever they got going on, but I saw some behind the scenes footage, and they built a gigantic set, all just big huge wooden set where all the castle pieces would be. And then I guess they just CGI'd in the castle over the top of that, and it looks really good.
It looks fantastic. And he did. We don't know what he did to those two soldiers that were trying to hold him off.
I'm sure they're dead.
Maybe not. He might have just incapacitated them. But I
because
think
he needed them to join the army because he was raising them.
right. There was no reason for him to just be killing people.
Well, he certainly is showing some mercy.
That's what the point of that scene is. That he wants the king to fear him, but not to hate him. And so he, instead of hurting him, he immobilizes him and then heals him, seemingly without effort.
And this is the first time we really see actual depictions of entities kind of being shown with the power there, which is an interesting idea because we never, who knows what, it's like a woman's voice and a man's voice.
Ooh,
who knows who he's hearing and who's talking to him, because it doesn't sound like it's, I think he says at some point that all of them, doesn't he say that
He
to Moiraine?
thinks that those are the prior dragons reborn.
All the
talking to
dragons
him.
talking him from beforehand, right?
And Moiraine
They all talk to
disagrees
him.
with him.
That's when she, I think, realizes that he's crazy right there, because she was a little questioning it a little bit, because he
Well,
was
he is a
powerful.
little crazy.
Yeah.
He is a little crazy, no question about that.
But he's showing sure signs of it then at this point.
He's been at it quite a while. As Lan points out later, he's at least 10 years too old to be the Dragon Reborn, assuming, and of course the show hadn't shown us yet at this point, Guitarra Moroso, but they were both operating from now's the moment, and that was not 30 years ago, which is Logain's age, but 20.
Yeah.
And that's where we're supposed to be having Rand and the others be, about 20.
But he shows him in a kind of very messianic kind of situation. He's rising to become the dragon, and the Red Sisters are on their way. She's raising up a large army. And that's really good for building up the Logain trope.
Because it sets him up as neutral chaotic to some extent. And that is a position from which anything can happen. And it's a wonderful narrative point to place him, because he now becomes a piece sitting on the board, kind of off by himself a little bit. And it's a question of who can draft him or convince him to be on their side. And I think that's of course, from my understanding of the rest of the story, what could happen
Yeah, and he hears like a voice saying, "You should just kill this guy."
And he does.
It's a girl's voice.
And he does it.
And they're showing there that it could have been. They're also using that scene in a way to depict that the prior dragons could have been a girl.
Right.
And I think they needed to lock that in somehow in your mind, and that's the way they did it in the dialogue there. And she's saying, just kill him, he's just meaningless, but he has control over himself and doesn't follow through on it, which shows a little bit of his being not your typical channeler dude.
Oh, he's very strong.
Most of the guys are just, they go crazy already.
He is morally a very strong man. He's a great setup for the narration about Owen that we get from Tom later. That Owen also was a good man, but collapsed completely under the force of being gentled.
Let's talk about Tom real quick, because I don't see that in our notes.
Yeah.
And he does show up in this.
Quite a bit.
Talking, and this is where Tom, just briefly, we'll just jump on it real quick.
Sure.
Tom comes in and kind of works there. He thinks because of what's going on with the dagger that Matt is gonna be one of these channeler dudes, and that's who he thinks. He's seen all the signs. That's what he sees,
because he's not seen anything from Rand, and so he has no reason to think about Rand at all.
And so he's kind of conversing with Rand. We need to help him out and all of that kind of. So you see this kind of him taking both them under their wing and establishing that from that characterization that we know so well of him being there before, but they did it so briefly, so quick,
And they took him away.
Right, but we haven't gotten there yet, because they stop at that farm, and I did notice that farm, that little girl that Matt's talking to.
Did you notice her name?
That's the girl that we see in the beginning of the first one that's talking to.
Can't be.
Shama.
She's dead.
No, they killed her.
They kill her. The Fade kills them all. Remember?
I don't think the girl gets killed.
Sure, she does.
Oh,
I saw her. We saw her body.
All right.
And then we see Brigitte, the doll.
Okay.
And it's got blonde.
Is that who it is?
That's Brigitte. The
kidding.
doll is called.
I didn't even
Brigitte,
notice that.
And Brigitte
That is
protects
amazing.
them.
That's cool.
Oh, that's a great
Nice
thing.
pickup.
I noticed that and I went,
Nice pickup, man.
it's okay. You can use Brigitte.
I'll
I'm
put that-
good with that.
I'll put that. And if there's anything you guys, this rings a bell, makes you think of something, go ahead and put it down in the comments so that we can read about it and go back and look at it.
There was so many quick things.
Lots of good stuff.
I had
the second time around was a lot more fun.
This is like my fourth time through, but this is the first time that I actually put the subtitles on. And when I put the subtitles on, all of a sudden I could read all the dialogue, which was you miss it because it's mumbled. And so when I saw it, I went, "Oh, that's what happened. Oh, that's what he said. Oh, that's what she said." And then because she said, and I went, "What?" And I saw Brigitte.
I didn't catch it.
And he gave it back, and that's the human in Matt fighting the dagger. That was an important thing right there. We've really gone off what we were going to talk about.
I thought that was important because looking in all the notes, I didn't see Tom in there. I wanted to get him in there
because he pops in, and then now we're hoping that we've already said to you guys that we're hoping he comes back in season 3, and they have every reason to do so.
Well, he's coming back. He's coming back for sure. Anyway. And then we move into the next part, which is the women chatting. All of these Aes Sedai are sitting there chatting about Logain while they have him shielded on their way to the tower. They stop and they got him in a cave in a cage, and they have him all shielded. Leandrin, Alana, and Kareen. And that's it, pretty much. And then the other girl's talking. What's the one that died?
There's a fourth one. Kareen's the one that gets killed.
Right.
The older one.
Well, the fourth one's Moraine, but she doesn't. She comes in to take over for the 3. So that's where we're at, and they're talking about his power, and they're actually talking about with Moraine there, who's not shielding anybody, but they say that. They sealed his ears with weaves of air, so he can't hear what they're saying.
First time they've ever mentioned anything like that.
Yeah. And then, but they're and then they're having this conversation about him being the dragon or not being the dragon, basically. And that's when Liandrin then passes the power of the shield off to Moiraine, correct?
Yeah, Moiraine forms a shield, lays it on Logain, and then Liandrin releases her shield. That's
right,
how
and then
works.
they give another one a sister a break, and it's just her and Alana holding them, right?
Alana
So-
takes over Kareen's spot, Moiraine takes over Liandrin's
and
spot.
she's like, "Do you feel it now?"
Yeah.
She's, you know.
Oh, she's
and that
just
was a
so-
good scene.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
is. It's a good scene. Like, at this point, they were having Kate play Liandrin as just kind of like a patrician thug.
Yeah, she's an overzealous red
She's
sister.
just a snotty person.
Thinks that she should have been Amelin or whatever.
Yeah, canonically, of course, there hadn't been a red Amerlin for like hundreds of years.
Right.
So they're a little bit resentful.
They're maneuvering, trying
There's
to
all-
get in there.
There have been way too many blues, and and you can see Liandrin particularly despises blues. She doesn't have any problem with greens particularly, which I find interesting, but she just despises blues as a rule. And of course, that also means that Liandrin hasn't got much interest in Suan either.
I think it's because she's a
Suan
spy,
comes from the blue.
and the spies are always looking into stuff that's dark, so
Maybe.
she's trying to hide.
Well,
But
at this point, we watching it, we normies, now we're normies watching
we don't
this.
know.
We don't know what the story. We only know Liandrin is a zealot.
She's a zealot.
She is a zealot for the Aes Sedai,
For the
the
Reds.
way Yemen Valda is a zealot for the White
And I think they're
Bloods.
just trying to show the pulse of the Reds.
right.
And they just establish
This is
these
how-
women,
this
these
is- yeah,
men,
right.
and we are nothing to them.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
There's just a warder.
Which is why we don't like the Reds, and we never will.
No, they're just not.
So all you Reds, you can go find another channel to go
Yeah,
watch.
if you like the Reds, then there's something.
No place for you here.
There's something you need to rethink. But in this situation, what we're seeing is we're getting a beginning of the differences between at least 3 of the Ajas. There being 7,
Yeah,
as we know,
greens, reds,
and blues.
and blues.
Now there are also whites and grays
Mhm.
and browns
Yep,
and yellows.
yellows.
And interestingly, she is healed by a green, unless Kareen is actually a yellow.
No,
Because she's
no,
portrayed as a
she's-
yellow, but
no,
she's
a
wearing green.
No, she's a green.
That it's not like
Well,
it is not. Even here, it is
They
not
have-
that no green could possibly have healed anybody.
Yeah, no, of course.
It's just that it's what is your major interest,
Mhm.
and as will be said later, Alana makes it clear, green is the battle Aja. So that was that.
Of course, green's always
Kareen probably
healed.
was like yellow, green, green.
It's like a field dress.
And so, she did. And notice she didn't completely heal the wound.
Well,
She's
it's
still
not
got a
as good.
scar.
There's not as good as some are better than others.
Yeah,
and then
we
they
haven't
can
really
remove
met.
the
We haven't
scars
met any
completely.
yellows yet, have we?
We do later when they bring Logain.
Oh, there's a couple
in.
of yellows who come to
Yeah.
Carcarian.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
There's the reason why we know yellows is because when she goes in later, we'll get to it, but Moiraine and her spy thing sees a yellow. A yellow contacts her later.
Not
in
only
the
that,
season.
but the sister that
In her spy network.
that Nynaeve and Elaine meet in Falbach is a yellow.
Oh yeah, but I was talking.
So-
We're talking about season 1.
So I know. So the yellows show up.
They do show up.
But we haven't. But the point being that right at they're doing a good job there. If you think about it, of they're going to have to start from ground zero with most of their audience. So we
Yeah.
got 3, and we say we know that what green looks like this and acts like this, blue
Mhm.
looks like this and that and acts like that, and red does this other stuff.
They got it.
And so you've got the
And they got the
definitions
conflict.
at this point are really pretty, broad strokes, but plenty of room
Well,
to
you see them
define it
also
and get it
arguing
small.
about points of like contention with the Amerlin
right.
or orders, and you see a structure there that they're having to deal with, knowing that they have taken oaths and that they have to be obedient, and that she wanted him brought there to have a fair trial and all that kind of stuff. But Leandrin obviously is pushing and pushing and pushing all the time.
Here's the point. The Greens come across as, ma'am, yes, ma'am.
Mm-hmm.
The Blues are, how do I get around this?
Yeah.
The Reds are, I'm not even going to pay attention to that woman.
This particular Red.
You saw the other Reds line up right behind her.
This one can
She's the leader of this. She's the
She's-
leader of the pack.
Well, but also because she's sworn on the oath rod, and she can kind of lie and do whatever she wants. You see what I'm saying?
I understand.
And that's why she's manipulative at that point. She's more manipulative because she's free of it.
That's not something we know yet in canon for the show. That's the thing. We don't know that she hasn't.
But we do for
renounced her vows.
We do for in second season.
Sure we do, but I'm saying here we are, 104. What do we know at this point? And
Sure.
what we know at this point is Leandrin is a loose cannon rolling around the deck, and they say even that.
But I think they thought all this stuff through to a certain extent, and that's why she's acting a certain way.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. And they're foreshadowing that she isn't obeying anybody because she didn't have to, and she can
say what she
lie,
wants.
cheat, and steal, and it's no big deal.
Exactly.
So, and that's, but what it does right now is it clouds the concept of the Aes Sedai, makes it a little. Now all of a sudden you're going, well, is she telling the truth? Is that
Right.
Can I depend? What, man? Can I depend on this person?
That's right.
I don't know, man. I feel weird now.
Well, there was
so all of a sudden you don't trust Moraine, you don't trust Alana,
and that happens a lot. That's very Wheel of Time Robert Jordan.
Sure
because
is.
That
Not
is
a
the
problem.
whole essence of the Aes Sedai mystique.
Right.
Is that an Aes Sedai is, always telling the truth, but is she really kind of telling the truth?
Well, she's telling you the part of the truth she
Technical
wants
truth.
you to know.
That's a technical
and
truth.
is there? Yeah, exactly. You can remember the phrasing of it is, you will say no word that is false.
Right.
And if you don't say a word, well, you didn't say it.
Just had to leave it out.
And did you get that impression? Oh well, I guess sucks to be you then.
Right.
But that degree of unreliability is the part that makes it a little, that makes people just wary. And it's also, of course, that they have this immense power that they can throw you up against the wall and say, "And you're doubting me?"
Right.
Oh no, I'm good. No, don't look at me. I'm just going to move off now. So, but this scene and this whole thing with Logain is to demonstrate the difference in power among the Aes Sedai, for one thing, the difference among the Ajahs, the difference in those three women, because these three actresses create three completely different women.
Yeah, and they're all out for different things.
They're all completely out for different things. The one we're the most obscure about at the moment is Alana, but then we just met her.
Right.
And we're going to meet a lot more of her, and she's a huge character as it goes on. And in fact, they're doing more with her now.
Doing good.
Than Jordan did, in fact.
Yeah.
Jordan,
Well,
remember,
they want to
she
establish
was
her character.
Now
yeah.
remember, Alana was the one who involuntarily bonds Rand, and she's stuck in the back of his head for the rest of the series.
I remember.
And so he stays away from her as a result, and she's always crying and
I wonder what
she's
they're
in
gonna do
terrible
with that.
emotions. So that's a thing that could happen.
Should be
man.
interesting.
Yeah, we just so. And then
So we got Nynaeve and okay, go ahead.
So now in terms of those guys, that's one thing. But in terms of Logain, the key thing that we both noticed was it was really pronounced in this episode how when he would weave, it would be this beautiful white, Christmassy kind of snowy look, and this really dark, black, chain-like stuff, and they would both go wherever he wanted to have the power go. And for some reason, when we saw him heal the king, only the white had any good effect. The black was just there providing power, but the white was what went into the wound and healed it.
Absolutely.
So at this point, all they're saying is that the weaves are white or they're black.
Yeah, and we've seen that's how they're depicting it here in first season. Is they're kind of depicting this just dark tainted part of the one power and the pure part of the one power.
Whereas when the women do it, it's always white. It's just pure white.
Now this changes in second season, and it's something that we noticed, and we'll get to that when we
We've
We'll
actually mentioned it when we were talking about second season.
We did,
So-
but we didn't get into the technicalities of that. It was only black and white, I think.
Because, because we
Now
were
watching it again,
avoiding
yeah.
talking about season 1 at the time.
That's right.
So at this point, what we're saying is that this is only one example of a number of things we've now noticed that
That are
they
differences
had
from
going
the first
on in
and
season
second
1 that they
season,
said, not the best idea. How about we do it this other way?
That's right. And we noticed a lot more things, so tune in to future episodes
So, yeah,
because we can't get to them yet.
So,
So make sure you come back.
that was the whole point about the white and black thing for Logain's weaves, because we see it clearly when he actually bursts out of the cell.
We also see some in this camp, just the way things go. When they set camp, they send people over here. The warders are hanging
she sets
out.
wards.
Sets
Doreen
wards
sets
for
wards.
like alarm systems, basically.
That
with
was
the
a
one
great
power.
touch.
You
Nice.
have warders, sitting around the fire, hanging out, doing practices, shooting the breeze, and then we see this interaction with Nynaeve and Leandrin up on the ridge, and she comes up to her and what does she say? She says, Nynaeve or whatever. Totally mispronounces her name.
Wrong emphasis too.
Yeah.
She put the emphasis on the wrong syllable.
And I think it's interesting that they did that, and we were kind of talking about it before, thinking that they may have done it to just because there's so many readers out there, and we say it everyone says these pronunciations so many different ways that it was funny for them to make light of that just for one little scene where she's mispronouncing.
In context, my take is that she did that to intentionally put Nynaeve back on her heels. She intentionally said, "I'm in charge. You're just a kid. You don't even matter enough for me
She had that
to
air
wonder
about her.
what your name sounds
she had
like."
that air about her.
And the other thing I noticed about that was that this was a mirror of what had happened when Egwene said, "Oh, we're from Whitebridge," and then Aram goes, "Is that so?"
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, right. I'm sorry, but I can tell a two rivers person when I see one, especially since I've been there. And so, her attempt to mislead him.
Tom knew the Two Rivers thing too. They'd stick out like sore thumbs.
They
these Two
would.
Rivers
Yeah,
people.
well, yeah, Tom said that. He knew. He
Yeah.
recognized the weave.
Yeah, you're right.
And he knew it.
Yeah.
And so remember, then again, he would have been in Camelin for all that time if they were
there was
following
a
the
great
canon.
line that Tom had in this episode.
Yeah, it is about the Gleeman thing.
Yes, that's
Where
the
we just
best
use
line.
silly names because a man who remembers the past is very dangerous.
Yes.
Whoa, that was a
Nothing
great
more
line.
dangerous than a man who can remember the past.
Oh, that was such a great line.
Good stuff.
Great line.
Good stuff, writers.
But that was another reason the two of us mourned the actor being compelled to not be in the rest of the show so far.
Commitments.
That could certainly be. He's certainly that
But
good
they
an
wanted
actor.
him.
He's like a Michael Hurst.
He was in another thing on Netflix that someone pointed out, and I went and looked at it, but he's not in it now. So that means
Please.
And I heard that he's on the set of third season right now.
Oh my goodness, yeah. And so
we should be okay.
So that line was one of the best in the whole series.
If you guys have a favorite line, put it in the description.
Was awesome.
Yeah, totally.
That whole conversation was awesome. It was one of the best efforts that Yasha had, where he was engaging in conversation. It was like he expressed a little bit of finding actual Rand, where before he's been kind of tentative about how do I play this character, how much do I show, how far, because I've got this narrative arc that's got to stretch for 30 or 40 episodes. Or maybe 50 for all we know.
Yeah, I think he just needed to button everything up so he could be in all the rest of the seasons.
That's what I'm saying. But it's
thing for him.
And I don't know how experienced the actor is, because a lot of times
it's like Alec Guinness playing Obi-Wan Kenobi. You just got to.
Well, but that's
a defining role
one of the greatest actors who ever lived.
I know, but they only remember him for being that instead of Prince Faisal from Lawrence of Arabia or something. You know?
You
see what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
He's incredible.
Yeah.
So
all those great Ealing comedies.
But he
did
said
in
that
the
himself. He's like,
50s.
I'll always be known as,
Yeah.
you know.
There was, and he regretted it for the rest of his life. He just didn't. He didn't even want to do it. Lucas had to talk him into it.
Yeah, I'm so glad he did.
I did. Yeah, but that's the advantage of, and that was the whole thing. Remember, that's the whole
professionalism.
That is the whole Harry Potter success.
Mm-hmm.
He's got these little, and that was the thing I was going to say. Yosha's in the position that Radcliffe, Watson, and Grint were in.
I think
not
Moraine
that
is-
much experience,
Yeah.
and so and given this, you're now in a role that is pivotal for what is in the world a 14-book, 13,000-page epic, and you are the point of it. Oh, good. Now, so how do I do this again?
Right.
And so that is where those experienced actors around the core make all the difference.
Oh, the cat. Come on in,
Meow.
kitty cat.
There you go. So, hey, baby. I know. So, I love to see when they bring, because Rosamund Pike is herself
I think
an
she
extremely experienced
brings
actress.
that to the.
Yes, absolutely.
to this
And I
project.
think that Daniel Henney actually is more experienced. I think that he is again an
He's
actor
an
that
up-and-comer.
he put him in a role where he has to contain himself more.
And he hasn't really done anything.
Not because they haven't let him.
Well, I'm saying he
The
hasn't
role
really
has-
done anything before this.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's not real big.
Oh, really? I thought he was experienced. Anyway.
The biggest
I
thing
get
that
the
I think
feeling-
he
I
did
get a
was
feeling
Big
of
Hero
gravitas.
6, and he is the big brother of Boyce.
Oh, is that all? Oh my goodness, he's very good.
That's the biggest thing I think he's done.
He's very good
other
in that
than
role.
This.
I
Yeah,
like
he did
that.
a great job.
I'm sorry they're not going to make a sequel to that. That was a fun movie. But so
Let's
moving
move
back
on to the battle.
Is that
We're
where
on
we
the
are?
battle. Yep. We just talked about
Oh,
90
mispronounced
100.
name. Very good.
Mhm.
Okay, so that because that's where you get those lights spark in the passageway behind her. Oh, my words just went off. Remember?
Right.
And so then in the
and they
outside,
show it on her face
yeah.
that she recognized it.
So that battle was a demonstration of that somebody successfully storyboarded this episode very well, because one of the things I get worried about when I watch these battles happen in these movies is, do I know where I am?
Yeah. What is happening here?
You
Some
know,
of it doesn't make any sense.
Where am I? But in this case,
They did a good job.
we had when we watched how the episode developed, and remember, we wove this location in with 3 other stories, so they didn't have the full runtime
They
to
could have more
completely
people.
develop.
They could have had more people. I think that's my only.
Oh, in terms of the attackers,
Yeah, they did a good job with this little amount of people that they had.
Yeah, they
to
didn't
try
have a
to
lot.
do-
But
but they could have done
they
more.
clearly,
Yeah.
but they clearly had more.
Mhm.
That though, you wonder if they're using the same actors in different clothes.
For sure.
But that's fine because
They might not
they
even be
waves,
there. They might not even be
waves,
there.
waves of yeah, exactly, waves of people coming up over the hill, and we had the thing set up. They were in a glen. There you could see to the right that you went around a corner to go into the cave.
Yeah, some good staging.
So you had the situation, and then you had that big hill that you saw.
And they're going to need to do a lot of this in the future with Matt when he's doing battles.
That's
Battle of the Red
key.
Hand and like all this kind of
Oh my goodness,
they
got
better bring in some really good battle people that do all of these Chinese
I
movies.
think Christian
you know?
Rivers will help them out a little bit.
I don't know. That'd be,
He was the storyboarder for Lord of the Rings, you know.
That would be nice to
Oh,
get,
he
to
did
get-
such a great. Well, of course, what Peter did was he did use those little models. It was just little fake, little GI Joe soldiers, but he'd set it up and he'd make a little like tabletop.
Sure.
And he'd put the scene out there, and it'd be set like he was going to do it. Then he'd move stuff around on the table. And so that's how they knew how to say, okay, from this angle, I'm going to see this. From that angle, I'm going to see that. And that, what I'm complimenting is, that happened in this episode here.
And our brain like follows it better.
Right. If you know where
Exactly.
you are, the battle makes more sense. You know what is the degree of peril that I'm actually in. And when you see the key thing that made me realize, oh my goodness, they could lose this battle, is when that one red sister took the arrow. I went, oh man, they don't have that many sisters here.
It was a small group.
You know, so wow.
That's the other thing. This is a small group.
Yeah, it is.
And he had raised an army of like not very many.
Thousands. Well,
it's just hundreds at this point.
but that's
because
fine.
they'd already been
And
battled.
And the question is exactly how much damage.
He knew they were going to come. Logain
Yes, he did.
knew they were
He knew.
coming.
He
He
did.
had it all set up.
That's why he
and
was.
then they
yeah.
did this great job of leading up to the point where the
Then he's-
border, where she dies, where he goes, and then that's lead us to our last subject matter.
Because at
Because
that
we lead
point,
to
and there's
everyone dying there.
there's a
Almost
footnote
dying.
here, but the thing is, he then bursts the.
The energy shield away.
Kareen gets killed outside, and Stepan goes crazy and attacks Logain. That interferes with the shield, and also that is what then when Logain blows up, he blows that thing apart, and that's what kills everybody. Is the parts of that axe that Stepan used on him, blowing all into pieces everywhere. But the problem, because I remember what he did was he actually melted that cage, melted it right to nothing.
Oh yeah.
And then that's when Moiraine comes in and they have that conversation. Remember, make me believe you're the Dragon Reborn. Somebody's actually going to listen to me, huh? Okay, and which is interesting. Then remember that conversation they have in season 2. Now all of a sudden that looks in a different light.
It's a different situation. He knows because by then he saw, because he sees Rand later, and once he's being taken in after he's been gentled here, he sees Rand up there, later.
And then he knows what her plan actually was all along. And again, I love to see when these show characters have some gray matter between the ears, and that they actually think things through.
They did.
That's really a positive.
Good job, guys.
It was a good job. This was an excellent episode especially given how season 1 had so many problems. And this episode, when we talk about the last thing we were thinking of was talking about Nynaeve and how in her agony after Logain blew up the axe. Fortunately, I guess it didn't kill Stepan. Maybe it should have, but because he was right there. But when it exploded and cut everybody's throats, then she reached the point, I guess, of fury.
Yeah, which is where it's kind of part of her character, this whole thing where that's the only way she was able to really get control of the power that she has. I think it's so powerful that
she lets it go is the problem.
She
releases it. She stops
it
blocking.
Builds up and then boom.
And the thing that happened was then she healed everybody all at once. And there's at least 8 people that she healed.
She explodes.
And that's the other problem, though. We then look at that from Logain's view, and we're looking at, wow, that's really a lot of that's a lot of Sidon power right there.
And why is he?
Wait a minute. How am I seeing that?
How is he seeing this is here. We're back to the whole thing. The weaves being depicted and being able to see. We have contrary statements saying that we can't see the weaves. We can see the weaves. Women can see the women's weaves, but men can't see the women's weaves. But then he sees Nynaeve's weave, and he says like an exploding sun.
So this was one of
guys messed up.
It is, and people who criticized it, because people were criticizing it episode by episode, where we're picking it up later after the fact. That's the first thing they noticed, and it was one of the things, especially Shad Brooks he went absolutely
really
berserk.
Bad oversight.
So it was not something he should have seen. It's just an error. It doesn't work in the show.
But it might not be an error if, of course, this is all moot point. Which I think we
are in an alternate world.
We're definitely in an alternate world.
The deal is, what does that do, narratively, and why can't then Rand see everybody's weaves?
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, I mean, be consistent. If you're going to say that men can see women's weaves, okay, fine, then every man who can channel has to be able to see when women weave. That's just the way it's going to have to be.
Oh, I just had a really crazy thought. I've never thought of this before.
Okay, this is cool.
So what if they reverse it all, and the white weave that all these women and everything that they've been doing is actually the wrong one, and the dark one is they reversed the whole thing, and all this.
Wow, that's a whack.
I know, whatever, but.
That would be horrible.
It would be horrible, but I couldn't put it past them there. With what they're doing with all this weave stuff.
They're being creative, aren't they?
Yeah. They're. It's so much fun to watch, though. I really am.
This was a great. I'm telling you, I watched this twice just because I went, oh man, I got to do that.
And it was good.
It was a good episode. It was a lot of fun.
And I really am enjoying this a lot more than the first time I watched it, because it was bad.
It was torment because I kept trying to fit it back into the books.
I'm like,
and there's just no way that happens.
It does not compute.
And it's just, okay, fine. That's the way you want it. That's the way it is. Fine.
Yeah, like
well, it'll be fine.
Like Sanders says it. Fine. Give me the hero of the horn.
Yeah, the drinker says it'll be fine. or he has J.J. James to go, you're serious? Oh, I love that clip.
Well, that about wraps it up for us.
I think we've done enough damage right
and
here.
Tell us what you think about how we're doing down in the comments.
Please
we
do.
Appreciate all of those.
Yep.
Give us a like and a subscribe if you came all the way this far. Thank you very much.
God bless you for doing that.
See you on the next one.
Amen.